Have you ever wondered why, no matter how much you try to blend into the noise of this world, there is always this silent pull inside of you, whispering that you were never meant to walk the same path as everyone else, that your journey was never about following the crowd but about carving out a road that few would ever dare to travel, and in that road, hidden beneath layers of silence, sacrifice, and profound self-reflection, lies the unspoken code of the lone wolf INFJ. This video is not for everyone. It is not for the casual listener, the one who is just browsing through content with half an ear open, because what we are about to explore goes deep into the psychological framework of what it truly means to be an INFJ who walks alone, who chooses solitude not because of weakness, not because of rejection, but because within the silence of solitude, they discover the truest version of themselves, a version that cannot be compromised, cannot be diluted, and cannot be betrayed. INFJs carry within them a paradox: the desire to connect deeply with souls and the simultaneous need to retreat when the world becomes too shallow, too loud, too unforgiving. And when you stand in that tension long enough, when you have experienced betrayal, misunderstanding, and the piercing ache of giving more than you ever receive, you begin to embody a code, one that isn't written in words, but etched in your very being, guiding you like a compass in every interaction, in every withdrawal, in every moment of choosing silence over noise. Today, we're going to unravel this code. And I promise you, when we arrive at number 6, you will feel it in your chest, because it is not just a point. It is the marrow of the lone wolf INFJ experience. 1. The code of selective presence. INFJs do not simply exist in every room they enter. They measure their presence like drops of water in a desert, precise, rare, and intentional. Unlike most, who scatter their energy across endless conversations, meaningless connections, and constant availability, the lone wolf INFJ moves differently. They know that their time, their presence, their soul, is not something to be consumed at random. They reserve themselves, not because they are arrogant, but because they understand that true presence changes atmospheres, shifts energies, and leaves a permanent mark, and such a force cannot be wasted on the shallow. There is a code at play here. I will be where my soul is honored. This simple yet profound inner law guides the INFJ to step back from the noise of constant availability, to conserve their energy not out of selfishness but out of necessity. For an INFJ, presence is power, and the lone wolf knows when and where to unleash it. This selective presence confuses others. People may say, "Why don't you show up more? Why do you disappear? Why do you vanish without explanation?" But what they don't see is the unspoken calculation behind the INFJ's eyes, the silent evaluation of whether this space is worthy of their essence or if their silence is the more powerful answer. And so, the lone wolf INFJ lives by this code. Not every table deserves my voice. Not every space deserves my energy. Not every person deserves my truth. 2. The code of hidden depths. One of the most misunderstood traits of a lone wolf INFJ is their ability to hide entire worlds within them while appearing calm, quiet, and unshaken on the outside. To the casual observer, the INFJ may seem mysterious, reserved, or even unreadable, but behind those eyes is an entire universe of thoughts, feelings, analyses, and connections that are constantly firing, constantly weaving together patterns that others cannot even begin to perceive. The unspoken code here is, my depth is not for display. The lone wolf INFJ doesn't walk around advertising their intelligence, their intuition, or their emotional range, because they know that the world does not value what it cannot comprehend. They protect their depth like treasure, revealing only glimpses when they sense a soul who is capable of honoring it. This hidden depth becomes both a shield and a weapon. A shield because it protects them from being drained by shallow interactions, and a weapon because when the time is right, when truth must be spoken, the INFJ can unleash insight so sharp and so accurate that it pierces through the illusions of others, leaving them stunned, unable to comprehend how someone so quiet could see so much. But for the lone wolf, depth is not about recognition, it is about survival. In a world that is too often content with surfaces, they must hide their oceans, not to deceive, but to preserve. 3. The code of loyalty above all. For the lone wolf INFJ, loyalty is not optional, it is sacred. If they let you into their circle, if they choose you as one of the very few who can walk with them in their silence, then you must understand that you have been entrusted with something priceless. Their loyalty is not casual, not conditional, but absolute, until you betray it. The code is simple but unyielding. If I stand with you, I stand with you fully. Betray me once, and you will never stand beside me again. This is why INFJs are cautious about who they trust, who they open up to, who they allow into their sacred inner world. They know that their loyalty is so rare, so unwavering, that it must be given only to those who have proven themselves worthy. When an INFJ commits to you, they will fight for you in silence, defend you in rooms where your name is not even mentioned, protect you even when you don't know it, and stand by you even when everyone else has walked away. But if you break that trust, if you betray that sacred bond, then you will discover a truth about INFJs that few ever recover from. Once they're done, they're done. This isn't coldness. This isn't cruelty. It's survival. Because for the lone wolf INFJ, loyalty is not just about relationships, it's about integrity. 4. The code of intuitive distance. INFJs are masters of sensing energy long before words are spoken, and as lone wolves, they live by an unspoken distance that protects them from harm. The code is this: I will feel you before you reveal yourself. This intuitive distance is what keeps INFJs safe in a world where many wear masks, where intentions are hidden, and where betrayal often lurks beneath friendly smiles. The lone wolf INFJ learns to trust this intuition not as a weakness but as a compass, guiding them away from those who would exploit their kindness and toward the few who resonate with authenticity. This is why INFJs often withdraw without explanation. They sense shifts in energy that others cannot. They feel the tension in a room before it becomes conflict. They know when someone's words don't align with their intentions. And instead of confronting every misalignment, they quietly retreat, honoring the silent code that says, "Distance is my protection, silence is my shield." And so, while others stumble blindly into betrayals and disappointments, the lone wolf INFJ walks carefully, guided by a radar that sees what others ignore, and they remain unshaken, even when the world cannot understand how they always seem to know. 5. The code of silent strength. INFJs are often mistaken for being gentle, fragile, or overly sensitive, but the lone wolf INFJ carries a strength that is not loud, not boastful, but unbreakable. The code here is, my silence is not weakness. It is power. This strength comes not from domination or aggression, but from endurance, from the ability to carry pain without breaking, from the resilience to walk alone without begging for company, from the courage to hold on to truth even when it costs them everything. The lone wolf INFJ does not need to roar to prove their strength. They do not need to shout to prove their worth. Their power lies in the way they rise after being broken, the way they forgive without forgetting, the way they love deeply even after being wounded. And when they must fight, they do so with precision, not chaos. They do not waste energy on every battle. They choose carefully, and when they strike, it is final. This silent strength is what confuses the world. People underestimate the INFJ because of their quiet demeanor, but those who make that mistake quickly discover that silence does not equal weakness, it equals control. 6. The code of sacred solitude, deep. And now, we arrive at the heart of the lone wolf INFJ, the code that defines them more than any other, the truth that is both their burden and their gift. In solitude, I find myself. In solitude, I heal. In solitude, I become. This is the unspoken law of the lone wolf INFJ. Solitude is not loneliness. It is sacred ground. Unlike others, who fear being alone, who scramble to fill silence with noise, the INFJ embraces solitude as the very space where their soul breathes. It is in solitude that they shed the masks they are forced to wear in the world. It is in solitude that they process the wounds of betrayal, the weight of empathy, the exhaustion of giving too much. It is in solitude that they remember who they are when no one is watching. But it goes deeper than that. For the lone wolf INFJ, solitude is not just a retreat, it is a rebirth. Each time they withdraw, they descend into themselves, facing their shadows, confronting their doubts, unraveling their pain, and then, like a phoenix, they rise again, stronger, clearer, more aligned with who they are meant to be. And yes, it hurts. It hurts to feel so different, to long for deep connection yet find solace only in silence. It hurts to know that while others find joy in constant company, your soul demands distance to stay alive. It hurts to walk alone when all you ever wanted was to be understood. But within that pain lies the deepest gift, the realization that solitude is not punishment, it is purification. It is the sacred ground where the INFJ's soul communes with something higher, something eternal, something untouchable by the noise of the world. And this is why number 6 is the deepest. Because at its core, the lone wolf INFJ lives by this truth: I do not walk alone because I cannot belong. I walk alone because in the silence, I finally do. 7. The code of emotional precision. INFJs are not reckless with emotions, either their own or those of others, and unlike many who fling feelings around like sparks in a storm, the lone wolf INFJ has learned to carry their emotions with precision, like a surgeon holding a scalpel that can both heal and cut with the same hand, and this is not because they are cold, but because they understand just how powerful emotions can be, how they can shape lives, wound deeply, or even destroy when used carelessly. The unspoken code here is: I will not throw my emotions where they cannot land safely. The lone wolf INFJ knows that their emotions are not just passing moods but deep rivers connected to something larger, and when they express themselves, they do so with intention, not noise. They don't flood conversations with chaotic outbursts or drown people in endless venting. Instead, they calculate, they feel, and when the moment comes, they release their truth with a clarity that strikes right into the heart of the matter. People often say INFJs are intense, and they are, but the intensity comes not from drama but from precision, from the way they can take an emotion, distill it into words, and place it like an arrow that lands exactly where it needs to. And because of this, their words can heal the broken, inspire the hopeless, or unravel illusions with terrifying accuracy. But this code of emotional precision also means restraint. They will not hand their heart to someone who hasn't earned the weight of it. They will not cry on shoulders that are weak or untrustworthy. They will not confess their fears to those who only listen to gossip. Their emotions are sacred currency, and the lone wolf INFJ spends them carefully, knowing that one misplaced confession can cost them their soul. 8. The code of boundaries in disguise. The lone wolf INFJ has mastered a subtle art, the art of creating boundaries without announcing them, of setting invisible walls that others don't even realize exist until they try to cross them and find that they cannot. The code is this: I will protect my peace without declaring war. Unlike personalities that confront conflict head-on, INFJs often set boundaries in silence, through withdrawal, through the quiet refusal to engage, through the way they simply stop feeding energy into connections that drain them. To the outsider, it may look like passivity, but to the INFJ, it is the most powerful form of protection, because their boundaries are not arguments, they are choices. This is why people sometimes find INFJs confusing. One day, they seem open, warm, welcoming. The next, they're distant, unavailable, untouchable. What outsiders don't see is that the INFJ has measured the energy exchange, and once it tips into imbalance, once they realize that their soul is giving far more than it is receiving, they activate the code. They retreat, not out of cruelty, but out of necessity. And here lies the subtle beauty of this code. Boundaries in disguise do not require explanation. The INFJ does not waste time justifying themselves, convincing others why they need space, or apologizing for their silence. They let the silence speak for them, and in doing so, they maintain their dignity while protecting their spirit. 9. The code of shadow and light. Every INFJ walks with a duality inside them, a constant dance between the healer and the shadow, the empath and the avenger, the light that longs to save and the darkness that rises when they are betrayed. The lone wolf INFJ learns to live by this code. I carry both the light and the shadow, and I honor them equally. Unlike those who deny their darkness, INFJs face it head on. They know what they are capable of if pushed too far. They know how their insight can cut, how their silence can punish, how their ability to detach can feel like a death sentence to someone who once had their heart. And yet, they also know their light, the ability to heal wounds that no one else can see, to inspire in moments of despair, to love with a purity so rare it feels like divinity. This unspoken code is not about choosing one over the other. It is about balance. The lone wolf INFJ accepts that they are both healer and warrior, both giver and protector, both tender and terrifying, and when the world misunderstands them, when others label them as too much, or too intense, they silently smile, because they know the truth. It takes a rare soul to walk with both shadow and light without being consumed by either. And so, the INFJ does not deny their duality. They live it. They honor it. They let it shape them into beings who cannot be easily categorized, who cannot be placed neatly into boxes, who confuse others because they embody contradictions. And in this code, they find freedom, the freedom to be whole. 10. The code of emotional alchemy. The lone wolf INFJ carries a rare gift, the ability to transform pain into wisdom, betrayal into clarity, heartbreak into compassion, and this ability is not something they brag about, because it was born not from luxury, but from survival. The code is this: I will not let my suffering go to waste. Unlike others who collapse under pain, INFJs metabolize it. They sit with it. They bleed with it. And then, like alchemists turning lead into gold, they extract meaning from the suffering, crafting it into lessons that not only strengthen them but allow them to guide others. This is why INFJs often carry a wisdom beyond their years. They have endured storms silently, carrying pain in their chest while smiling outwardly, and in that silence, they have learned to listen to the voice within, the voice that says, "This is not the end, this is a teacher." But make no mistake, this alchemy comes at a cost. It takes nights of solitude, tears shed where no one can see, and the exhaustion of feeling everything so deeply that the weight sometimes feels unbearable. Yet even in those moments, the lone wolf INFJ keeps the code alive. I will turn this pain into purpose, or I will drown in it. And because of this, they become living proof that wounds can become wisdom, that scars can become maps, and that even the deepest heartbreak can be transformed into healing for themselves and for others. 11. The code of invisible leadership. INFJs rarely seek leadership positions, yet they often find themselves leading, not through authority, not through commands, but through presence, through example, through the silent way they carry themselves. The code here is: I lead by being, not by boasting. The lone wolf INFJ doesn't need the spotlight, doesn't crave recognition, and doesn't demand followers. Yet people are drawn to them. They listen when the INFJ speaks, they notice when the INFJ withdraws, and they often find themselves quietly following the INFJ's lead without even realizing it. This invisible leadership is rooted in authenticity. The INFJ doesn't try to manipulate people into admiration. They simply live their truth so fully, so consistently, that others cannot help but feel inspired. Their integrity becomes their authority. Their empathy becomes their influence. Their silence becomes their command. And the lone wolf INFJ lives by this unspoken truth. Leadership is not about being followed, but about creating spaces where others can rise. And so, they lead not from the front, but from within, quietly shaping lives in ways that may never be recognized, but are always felt. 12. The Code of Unyielding Vision. INFJs are visionaries by nature, able to see patterns, possibilities, and futures that others are blind to, and the lone wolf INFJ protects this gift fiercely. The code is this: I will hold the vision, even when no one else can see it. This vision is both a blessing and a curse. It allows INFJs to see potential in people long before those people see it in themselves. It allows them to predict outcomes, to sense shifts, to feel where life is leading. But it also isolates them, because others may dismiss their foresight as unrealistic, too idealistic, or even naive, until the day comes when the INFJ is proven right. The lone wolf INFJ has learned to stop explaining their vision to everyone. They know that not all minds can comprehend what they see. And so, they carry it quietly, protecting it like fire in their chest, pursuing it even when no one else believes. This unyielding vision is what makes them relentless. They will walk alone if they must. They will endure misunderstanding if they must. Because for them, the vision is not optional, it is destiny. 13. The Code of Eternal Outsider. Perhaps the hardest truth for INFJs to accept is that they will always feel like outsiders, no matter how much they try to belong, no matter how deeply they connect, no matter how much love they give. The code here is: I was not born to fit in, I was born to stand apart. The lone wolf INFJ eventually stops fighting this truth and begins to embrace it. They stop chasing belonging in crowds that cannot hold them. They stop contorting themselves to fit molds that were never meant for them. They stop apologizing for their intensity, their depth, their silence, their difference. Instead, they embrace the role of the eternal outsider, the one who sees what others miss, who feels what others avoid, who walks where others fear to tread. And in that acceptance, they find freedom. Yes, it is lonely. Yes, it hurts. But it also empowers them to live authentically, without compromise, without dilution, without the exhausting need to fit into spaces that cannot hold their soul. And so, the lone wolf INFJ lives by this unspoken truth: solitude is not exile, it is alignment. 14. The Code of Legacy through Impact. At the end of it all, the lone wolf INFJ knows that their life is not about popularity, recognition, or numbers. It is about impact, the unseen ripples they leave behind in the lives they touch. The code is this: even if no one remembers my name, they will remember how I made them feel. INFJs do not need monuments, awards, or applause. What they crave is meaning, to know that their existence shifted something, healed someone, awakened someone, inspired someone. They measure success not by visibility but by depth, not by noise but by resonance. The lone wolf INFJ carries this legacy quietly. They may never be celebrated publicly. They may never have their truth broadcast on stages. But in the silent corners of people's lives, their presence will live on, in the healing words they once spoke, in the kindness they once showed, in the wisdom they once shared. This is the final code, a life of quiet impact, invisible to many but unforgettable to those who felt it. And so, the unspoken code of the lone wolf INFJ is not written in books, not taught in schools, not shouted from rooftops. It is lived quietly, fiercely, and faithfully in the way they walk through this world. Selective presence. Hidden depths. Sacred loyalty. Intuitive distance. Silent strength. Sacred solitude. Emotional precision. Invisible boundaries. Shadow and light. Emotional alchemy. Invisible leadership. Unyielding vision. Eternal outsider. Legacy through impact. This is the way the INFJ survives, thrives, and transforms in a world that rarely understands them. And if you are an INFJ listening to this, I want you to hear me clearly. You are not broken for walking alone. You are not weak for needing solitude. You are not strange for being different. You are living by a code that few can understand but that defines you in ways more powerful than you realize. So the next time someone questions why you are the way you are, the next time someone misunderstands your silence, your depth, your distance, remember this. You are not here to be understood by everyone. You are here to walk your path, guided by a code written not in words, but in your soul. Because you, lone wolf INFJ, are not meant to follow. You are meant to lead, quietly, powerfully, unshakably. And that is the unspoken code.